Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I think it worked. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me tonight. I know that you can be doing loads of other things on a Saturday night and you're here with me, so I really appreciate it. I'm full of gratitude for it. Obviously, as you know, food is a big contentious issue and there's a lot to cover. I'll try and give you as much as I can in this hour, but there is so much more to know and so much more to share. But I'm going to try and deliver what I know in my past 20 years of research and training in nutrition and food and diet. And if there's anything else that you want to know, then we can have a discussion at the end. Okay? A little bit about me is that as I said, I've had 20 years experience in the natural health industry, and I trained originally with Barbara Wren. And I'm also a public speaker and a journalist and nutritionist. And I am here to basically share that 20 years worth of knowledge that I've gathered together. I think we've come to the realisation now that the trusted authorities that we once trusted cannot be trusted, ironically. and that's what this talk's a little bit about. It's a little bit about the political side of food. Normally, when I've given this talk, I've been a little bit overemphasising on what's wrong with our food. But I've tried to balance it out for you tonight with things that are going to give you the solutions, not just what's wrong. Because obviously there is a lot wrong with our diet, right? I think we know that. And the food industry as a whole, and what the government guidelines and the food industry, the Food Standards Agency and the NHS recommend for food and diet. And so we're going to have a big discovery together around that. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I always like to start my talks with a pretentious philosophical quote, just to set the scene. And I do think that it's important to be questioning things all the time. You know, it's very important. You know, we can't lose our critical thinking, and this is what I'm all about. And another lovely little quote, because I couldn't resist it, good old Frank Zappa. I would have had a picture of him in here, but all these pictures got a fag hanging out of his mouth. It doesn't really work for the talk, so... I think it's so true. A mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it is not open. So if you would suspend your belief. So let's have a look at the current dietary advice. And this kind of dietary advice has been quite a mainstay for about, I'd say, at least 50 to 70 years. Am I right? I'd say since the 50s, there's been a general recommendation to eat plenty of carbohydrates, keep our fat low, eat 5 to 7 portions of fruit and veg. So the question that we're going to explore, is this healthy, balanced advice?
No.
I see a few heads shaking there. So, there you go. Okay, so this is where we are. And it could be worse than this, but it's quite difficult to get very specific statistics right up to date. But these are the latest statistics. And right now we've got 7.6 million people currently living with heart disease in the UK. So if taking saturated fat out of the diet was working, would we have 7.6 million people in the UK living with heart disease? I don't think so. Every 5 minutes, someone is admitted into hospital due to a stroke, and every 3 minutes, someone dies from a heart or circulatory disease. That's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Saturated is good for you.
All right, don't preempt me. You know it all already, don't you? I'm just, preaching to the converted here. And then we've got this serious problem with diabetes. And might I add that things like heart disease and diabetes, they're huge cash cows for the pharmaceutical industry. You know, they're hugely profitable diseases to have. And if we didn't have them, I'm sure that the pharmaceutical industry would invent them for us. A little bit like the cholesterol. So we've currently got 850,000 people living with type 2 diabetes, and there are obviously more yet to be diagnosed. Basically, we've got people who are insulin resistant, got sugar addictions, weight problems, all kinds of stuff. But diabetes is the result of a lot of these things that we're dealing with, these challenges with sugar addiction. It's not just sugar, is it? So the almost probable future is that more people than ever have diabetes now. And if we carry on the way that we're going, it's predicted that 5.5 million people have diabetes in the UK by 2030. It's pretty shocking, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. And a blank screen doesn't have to be that way either. Okay, so moving swiftly on. Autism is on the rise. I think we know that. It used to be, 1 in every 100 kids. Well, actually, it used to be 1 in every 3,300 kids had autism 20 years ago, but now it's 1 in 9. They've either got an autistic spectrum disorder, ADHD.
1 in 100, 1 in 9 asthmatic.
Asthmatic, that's right. And 1 in 6 has some kind of learning or behavioural disability. More children are currently sick today than any other time in history. And we have some serious obesity issues as well. In some of the London boroughs, we've got some of the highest obesity rates in children across the whole of Europe. So, it is a rising issue. Obviously, obesity is a problem and it's across Europe, but we have particularly high rates in this country. And we're in we're top of the league. We're high up in the league. It's one of the unhealthiest nations for children in the Western world, a report has found. So it's pretty shocking stuff, right? We're a rich society, right? We have everything available to us. We have more medicines available to us, more knowledge available to us, more food from around the world available to us, and yet we're still, highest up there with issues for children and health and well-being. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So this is what we're going to cover. We're going to have a discussion about what is a whole food diet. The word healthy has been hijacked. Would you not agree? Yeah. You can use the word healthy to describe anything on TV these days. Yeah? You can use it for absolutely anything. And they do actually use it for pretty much anything. And we're going to go through all those different elements. We're going to look at gut health. We're going to look a little bit at gut health. Hydration, the importance of good fats, why breakfast is quite important. It is for me anyway. Some people can go without breakfast. Some people have got really good blood sugar balancing mechanisms, but some people need breakfast. And also food is contextual. It's like where you live, what your genetic history is, what the climate is. All those elements are important because a lot of us have heard that a Mediterranean diet is really healthy. Yeah?
Yeah.
But do we live in the Mediterranean?
No.
So, we have to consider that. We have to tweak our diet according to our climate and our genetic heritage as well. So, and also, what season we're going through. All those elements have to be considered. So I can't give you a black and white definitive prescription for what the ideal healthy diet is. But I'm certainly love to empower you around certain elements that I feel are really important for health. So, here we go. I shouldn't have put that animation in. So what would life look like if we didn't have any cravings? The thing about cravings, some people might want to call it addiction, is that it owns us. Like we don't own it, it owns us, and we're given by it. Does that make sense? So, you know, what would life look like if we weren't given by food? And do you know what I mean when I say by given by it? Like it takes over our minds. You know, you can't focus on work because you're thinking about having a bag of crisps or a cream bun or something, or, you know, or a chocolate bar or whatever it is your thing is, your hot buttered toast, you know. It takes over. And, you know, what would life look like if we were just free to focus on what we really want to do in life and food not be there in the way to consume us and to get in the way of what we're up to? So let's start with the first myth, because I hear a lot of people talking about calorie counting, and there's actually absolutely no science in it whatsoever. And I challenge anyone to go online and find me some science behind it, because it doesn't exist. Calories are actually measurements of energy, and you know, they're not determinant by how much fat they put on you. Like, you do not eat a load of calories and then suddenly you're overweight. It doesn't work like that, because every single food is used differently by the body. So if I could be eating 1,000 calories a day, but it's all vegetables and fish, right? And then you could be eating 2 slices of toast a day and a bowl of pasta, but you're eating half the calories than me. But you would still put on weight more likely than me. Let's take away the fact that I've got a high metabolism. But as an example, right, it's not to do with the calories. It's to do with the carbohydrate count. And a lot of the weight loss systems and the weight loss groups are based on calorie counting systems. Now, some people might say to me, well, it worked for me. I counted calories. But is it sustainable? Are they able to sustain that weight long term? Have they given up their addictions? Have they been able to overcome their attachments to certain foods that don't serve them, you know? It's not about, you know, going in and doing a weight loss group, which costs you so much, coming out of it, and then having to just carry on counting calories for your whole life. It's a really unsustainable way of doing things. You've either got good calories or bad calories. Gary Taubes has written a lot about that, if anyone is interested in that particular subject. He's written a book called Good Calories, Bad Calories. So, unless you're on a fast, which is a completely different subject, sleeping overnight, when you wake up in the morning, you're breaking that fast, yes? But you want to break it in a good way, in a positive way, in a powerful way, you know, because what you eat in the morning determines how your whole day is going to go. It's going to determine your energy, your productivity, your discipline, your focus, everything. Even mood can be affected. I mean, I went out without breakfast once, and I had a hysterical drama queen moment in the middle of Waitrose because I didn't have the sushi that I wanted, you know? I mean, sometimes if you haven't had the right breakfast, it can really impact your behaviour the rest of the day. And I'm not usually a hysterical drama queen, by the way. So, you know, what's the key to balancing blood sugar levels? Good quality protein. Some people want complex carbohydrates, plenty of green foods, and good fats. And we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of that, so don't worry. But firstly, I want to start with my favourite subject, which is fats, oils, fats and margarines. So the thing about seed oils is that they're sensitive to heat, light and oxygen. And most seed oils and nut oils are omega-3s and 6s. So if you heat up a plant seed or nut oil, the omega-3 gets immediately destroyed, completely annihilated. But the omega-6 hangs on in an oxidized, rancid, toxic form. So what we're eating is toxic, damaged omega-6. And that's what's attacking our arteries and causing inflammation throughout the body. If you're buying oil like that, and I'm sure none of you are, then that's already toxic before you've even heated it up. because it's in a see-through plastic bottle. And they probably haven't cold pressed it, they haven't bothered, because it's cheap. It's cheap and easy to sell like that, you know? That,
Did you say nut oil?
I'm going to go through that, don't worry, don't worry. I'm not going to leave you empty-handed. So, you know, there's this big mystery around fats, and I hope to really give you some clarity on that. You've got essential fatty acids, saturates, polyunsaturates, and monosaturates, right? Now, polyunsaturates are these vegetable oils. And I'm sure we've heard the messages on the TV. High in polyunsaturates, heart-healthy polyunsaturates. That's just a push to get us to buy it because it's cheap. But the studies say differently. This is the Sydney Heart Study in the British Medical Journal. And they have discovered that by replacing our traditional saturated fats that we've always eaten for many centuries with these modern processed seed oils, is that we now have this issue with heart disease and inflammatory problems. And we do have an awful lot of inflammatory problems. I'm sure you'd agree. It is a problem, and it's not just a problem just with what we're cooking in. It's in all of our foods. It's in our you know, breaded fish. Hello.
Hi.
And it's in bread, it's in cakes, it's in biscuits, it's hidden in loads of things. So it just goes under the radar and we don't notice it. But if you're eating it on a continuous basis, then you're consuming all these damaged oils into your bodies are like under constant attack with damaged oils. And you know, and then if you add on the odd takeaway, and they're always cooking in damaged oil, by the way, every single one of them, then you've got really, you know, a lot of damaged oils in your diet and in your body. You know, I mean, the advertising is very seductive, you know, sunflower seed oil, very high in vitamin E, very good for you, blah, blah, lovely, pretty sunflower there, but really that's toxic. Now, I want to talk about rapeseed oil because this is a big issue. Rapeseed, I've got a shop up the road and I've been round the alleyway, I've been round the back and I've seen what's going on round the back of all the restaurants and cafes along there, and every single one of them is cooking in rapeseed oil. Not just this nice rapeseed oil that's been cold pressed, but they're using the extended life oxidised rapeseed oil. And they're probably, you know, if you're eating chips, they're probably cooking in it over and over and over again. So it's actually carcinogenic. But, you know, rapeseed oil has got toxin in it. And that toxin attacks your central nervous system. It's been associated with Alzheimer's and it leaves lesions on the heart. Rapeseed is actually very toxic, but it's beneficial to the farmers because in the summer, all the fields are covered in yellow rape and it benefits the economy. But it's not benefiting us, unfortunately, as much as, you know, that would be a great combo, wouldn't it? Benefits us, benefits the economy, you know, great strapline. Doesn't benefit us at all. It is very toxic, and I absolutely strictly avoid anything that's got rapeseed oil in it. And unfortunately, it's in loads of supermarket foods.
Yeah, you can't buy anything.
It's very
I
difficult.
looked everywhere.
Make your own breaded fish.
Sunflower.
Rapeseed is the worst. Sunflower is pretty bad as well. They're both bad. So that's what I did take a picture of some of the barrels outside the back, but I couldn't upload it. It came out sideways. But that's what I'm seeing out the back of all the restaurants and the cafes. Even the ones that really posh restaurants that say really high quality dining, really fantastic food. You know, we're 5 stars, whatever. They're still cooking in the same old crap as the kebab house up the road. You know. So imagine if you're eating out once or twice a week, and you're doing that every week. What's that, I don't know, 50 times a year, you're eating that. And they're going to carry on doing that if we continue to finance it.
I also heard eye disease is another thing.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Eye disease is
I'm at war with the margarine. I think it's awful. It's really, really awful. And it's full of ingredients that I don't even recognise. Do you recognise any of those ingredients? I mean, I'd say that the plastic tub it's in is probably more closer to food, actual food. I mean, margarine isn't actually a true food. It's not a food. It is a molecule away from being plastic. They have to add things to it to turn it into something that looks like food in order to, to sell it to you, to try and get you to believe that it's healthy, that it's got some value to it, that it's got some, measure of its healthiness, But they have to when they mix it up in a big mixer, when they're producing it, it's grey sludge, and they used to use it just to oil machinery, and people are still eating that stuff off the back of their doctor telling them it's good for their cholesterol. It's a joke, isn't it? And then you've got to think about, so you've got all those synthetic ingredients, and they're going through all sorts of hideous toxic processes in order to make it, because it's not natural actually to have a hard solidified seed oil. Seed oils don't solidify. The only oil that solidifies is coconut oil. But a seed oil won't solidify, so how do they get it like that? They're doing something to it, right? They're doing something. And they're putting it through loads of horrendous chemical processes. And by the time that it's gone through all these different kinds of processes like bleaching and hydrogenization and neutralization and fractionalization and deodorization, basically, and heat treatment with a solution of caustic soda, it basically ends up with a trace of nickel in it, which is associated with cancer. We've got a rise in cancer. Hydrogenization in itself is toxic, and it's producing trans fatty acids that don't occur naturally in nature. So, if you look in a lot of products, a lot of baked products in the supermarket, they're using margarine. They might not always say that it's margarine. They might say a mixture of vegetable oils, but often they're using margarine because it's a replacement for butter. So it's not natural, it's not healthy by anyone's standards. So, the question is, the only thing that's in butter is cream and salt, that's it. Who do you trust? A cow or a chemist? So there actually are health value. I mean, contrary to popular opinion, contrary to the media, contrary to what you've been told by your doctor or the television, there are many health benefits to butter. It's got vitamin A, D, E, K, copper, zinc. Good grass-fed organic butter will have benefits to it. And you need butter. If anyone can think back to maybe in the 70s and prior to that, people would eat carrots with butter on. Yeah? Remember that? Anyone remember that? That helps you to convert the beta-carotene in the carrot into vitamin A. And I can tell you it's much more absorbable cooked like that than it is juiced up or eaten raw. Believe it or not. But that butter was there to aid that absorption. And now we're all frightened of eating butter. It's crazy. See this woman, she's scared. So, there's a lot of mythology about saturated fat. Saturated fat is actually a stable fat. So if we refer to oils and fats from the perspective of whether it's stable or unstable, our whole entire relationship to fats would transform. Because we'd be looking at it from a different viewpoint. We wouldn't be looking at it from, oh, is it, saturated fat is bad. I see people in the supermarket looking at things going, oh, there's saturated fat in this, I must avoid it. And then they'll go for something really high in sugar. And, none of this is true. You can have my PowerPoint at the end of this.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Anyone that wants this PowerPoint can have it at the end. So, fat is important for brain development. It's really important. Kids need fat for development, for their brains. If you take fat out of the diet, you're starving all the time.
The brain is mostly fat.
That's right. It's mainly fat and cholesterol. That's right. Exactly. And, and also our hormones run off the back of fat. And it's not true that fat makes you fat, necessarily. Everybody's got different metabolic types. There'll be some people that maybe they have to manage their fat, but we all need a bit of fat. If you don't have a gallbladder, that's a problem as well. But, most of us here, I'm hoping and assuming, we've all got our gallbladders, right? Yeah. So, we need fats. Fats are integral to good health. And, they're cofactors with essential fatty acids. So if you want to get really good absorption of essential fatty acids and your fat-soluble vitamins, you want your hormones to work, and you want your liver to be protected against chemical damage, medication damage, alcohol damage. Saturated fat is really good for that. It's very good for your metabolism as well. So it's basically essential to every cell in the body. And in the UK, we are mostly deficient in the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and they're responsible for healthy eyesight, bone strength, mental health, cancer and blood vessel protection, and therefore heart health. And we do need these whole natural fats, contrary to popular opinion. Ghee. I'm a big fan of ghee. They've been cooking in ghee for millennia in India, and they're not all dropping dead of a heart attack. So I'm guessing it should be all right. But I'm more than guessing. I know that it is all right because I've looked at the studies. It's a stable fat. It has a very high smoking point, unlike the seed oils. And it's got lots of health benefits. The thing about butter and ghee is that they feed your mitochondria, and your mitochondria is what is in every single cell in your body, and it's your powerhouse. So that's what you're looking at for energy, your mitochondria. So butter and ghee are really great for your mitochondria. And, if you're not a fan of dairy or you're vegan, coconut oil. Coconut oil is another saturated fat, is another stable fat, and it doesn't go rancid easily. Both coconut and butter are stable fats, so you can keep them out of the fridge. They don't need to be refrigerated, and they're quite stable. They're not going to go rancid easily. And again, that's got another high smoking point. If you're cooking something and it's smoke coming off of it, you've got it on too high. Nobody wants smoke coming off their oils, their fats. That's not healthy. You've already damaged the oil then once it starts to smoke. Yeah. So this is a study. You can find this study online. It's in Dr. Malcolm Kendrick's book, The Great Cholesterol Con. This is a Framingham Heart study, and they did a study on for over a number of years the whole area of Framingham in Massachusetts. And their findings were that the more saturated fat they ate, the more cholesterol they ate, and the more calories they ate, the fitter they were, the healthier they were, and the less chance they had of having a heart attack. basically. And the director of the Framing the Heart study source was absolutely, he was pretty shocked, pretty livid at all the corruption going on. Yeah, pretty blown away. So going on to cholesterol, because often people will say to me, oh, what if I eat all this saturated fat, won't I get high cholesterol, won't I have a heart attack? Well, we do need cholesterol, contrary to popular opinion. And we need cholesterol to interact with sunlight to make vitamin D. And we need vitamin D for our immune system and our bones. And you need cholesterol to make bile, and it's an important anti-aging mechanism and for fat metabolism. You need to be absorbing your vitamins A, D, E and K. These are your fat-soluble vitamins. Really important. A lot of people in this country are, especially the women, are deficient in vitamin A because we're not getting enough fat in the diet. There's too many women who are very, very fearful of good fats. So, cholesterol is produced by almost every cell in the body, and it helps to fight against infection. You need cholesterol. It's in your brain, as that man rightly said, and it's important for the function of the nervous system, and it's really important to protect against depression. It's madness going on cholesterol lowering medication, absolute madness, because you need cholesterol for so many different reasons, and it's a powerful antioxidant as well. It's an anti-ager. You need it.
So what about, some people say there is good and bad cholesterol. What about that?
Well, they're not actually measuring cholesterol. They're measuring the lipoprotein that it comes in. And they're distinguishing between LDL and HDL. But cholesterol isn't a causation factor in triggering a heart attack. You can have high cholesterol, you can have medium cholesterol, you can have low cholesterol. You have to have inflammation present in order to trigger a heart attack. So cholesterol on its own isn't the causation factor in heart attacks. It is to do with inflammation. If you can manage your inflammation, cholesterol is a bit of a red herring, but it's also a huge cash cow for the statins industry. So I've put a couple of links. Anyone that wants this PowerPoint, you're welcome. But, you know, Dr. Asim Malhotra, who's a cardiologist, he talks a lot about it. You can find him online. And Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, that wrote the Cholesterol Con, they've got some really great articles and talks online. So anybody that's interested in that particular subject, that's a really great subject to explore. And there's lots of really great articles about it online. So basically, it's $1 billion industry costing millions of lives. It's one of the big pharmaceuticals' biggest cash cows, and it's they're raking in absolutely billions, 29 billion just from statin sales. They're making more out of that than all the other things that they're selling, that they're pushing. And they'd like to put more people on statins because there are financial incentives to do that.
Is it a hoax then? When they say you're high in cholesterol, you need to go. Is it a hoax?
Well, it depends what they mean by high.
Yeah. Okay, so there isn't anything to worry about. If the blood test results come out.
Well, we can talk about that at the end. We'll have a discussion about that. Yeah.
I was told by an NHS doctor that you need to take statins because the arteries in your heart build up plaque.
Right.
And when you take the statins, that's what stops the plaque from dropping into
Really?
and
Okay.
causing a heart
Well,
blockage.
statins.
They're indiscriminate. Not for one.
Yeah, statins are indiscriminate. What they're doing is they're blocking an important enzyme called CoQ10, and CoQ10 protects you against heart attacks. And they cause muscle wastage. And as you get older, you need more cholesterol because it protects you against Alzheimer's and cancer. It's a protection mechanism.
Also, the statins actually weaken your heart muscle.
That's right, they do. They weaken your heart muscle. There's actually no... You can go online and read up Dr. Malcolm Kendrick's articles on doctoring data and how the pharmaceutical industry are really good at doctoring statistics and data to make it look favourable for them. Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. He's a Scottish doctor and he wrote The Great Cholesterol Con, but he's got some great stuff online. And Dr. Asim Malhotra, who's also a cardiologist. There are loads more. So eggs. You can't really worry too much about eggs. They've got so much great nutrition in them. If you look at an egg, the yolk is made from cholesterol and it's to build a chicken. So it's a building block of life, you know? And eggs are very rich in choline, which is really important for the brain. You know, you're not absorbing the cholesterol from the egg, your liver is making the cholesterol for other reasons.
What happens though if you're intolerant to eggs?
You don't have to eat eggs. We'll go into that, don't worry. Vitamin K2, it's really important for blood clotting. And you can find it a lot in animal products and in some fermented foods as well, like natto. That thing about the arteries, a lot of people actually, what they're finding is in the arteries is a build-up of calcium. And that calcium is being fortified in loads of plant milks and added to things, added to foods. And calcium shouldn't be taken on its own. It needs its cofactors, magnesium and D and K2, and then they can all go to where it's needed. But calcium won't directly automatically go to the bones if you're just taking calcium on its own. And it can accumulate in the arteries. So that's one of the problems. Yeah, well, doctors shouldn't really be, in the same way I shouldn't be giving out drugs, the doctor shouldn't be giving out nutrition. That's my point of view on it. That's not an official stance. So I just want to ask, is this the best way to start the day? Is it really good for our heart? I mean, this is what the cereal industry would like you to believe, that you know, grains, wholesome grains, really great for long, slow release of energy. Grains want to grow into a plant, like all seeds. And they've got special anti-nutrient mechanisms in them to protect them from being eaten. But we're still eating them, obviously. And these mechanisms, these protein parts of the grain, block important minerals like calcium, magnesium, copper, iron, and especially zinc in the body. So it's in the brown of the grain. So when you're eating lots and lots of whole grains, you're actually blocking important nutrients. Yep. You might go, yeah, we all know shredded wheat. Have you noticed that heart sign round it, that it's in a heart? That's subliminal advertising. That has you believe automatically that it's good for your heart. They don't have to say heart healthy because they've just put it in a picture of a heart. And if you look at advertising, a lot of it is doing that. It's using those sort of symbols to shape your thoughts and opinions about the brand without actually ever having to say anything. You know, I've seen adverts where you've got like a whole picture of about 50 people and the advert just says in 10 years' time, 1 in 60 people will have heart disease, and then there'll be a picture of flora margarine. And people make the association, but it doesn't say flora margarine will protect you against, you know, heart disease. It just allows you to make the association. They don't have to say anything. They're very clever. Slow release of energy. Really? I can't tell you how many people I've seen who've got digestive problems from this. And again, you know, we've got the heart in a nice wholesome field, nature, abundance. Hello. You know, images of the countryside and how natural it is, yeah? Very clever. Very clever.
Very natural.
So let's not forgetting that grains are sugar. We break them down to glucose. And what you're not using for energy, you're storing as fat. And your liver's got to metabolize all of that. So, unless you're an Olympic athlete, although it's not the most superior fuel if you're an athlete anyway, but only really, unless you're an Olympic athlete, you're not actually burning down all of these grains. Yeah. Yep.
I know that they've genetically modified the wheat in the 1970s, but going back thousands of years, we've always eaten grains.
Right. We've always eaten grains.
Yeah,
Well, not to the degree in which we eat them, and also the grains we're eating right now have been domesticated and hybridized, so they're very, very high in gluten, and they were never that way. If you look at the ancient grains like spelt and einkorn, they're all wheat. Spelt is an ancient wheat, and then you've got kamut, which is the Egyptian wheat. Spelt is the Greek wheat, and then einkorn, I think it's from here and from Europe. They're the ancient grains, but we weren't eating mountains of bread and pasta. And when they did start making breads, a lot of them were sprouted and fermented. We weren't eating processed bread and piles of pasta in the way that we do now. We just weren't. And and our ancestors started off just picking off a few grains here and there on their travels. It wasn't until a few thousand years later we started to farm it and domesticate it. So going back to what I said about diets, diet companies and the way they market their programs, and they've got all these products that go with their programs, and they're basically designed to keep you addicted. It's a money-making operation.
What a surprise!
Yeah, what a surprise. Obviously, I don't think, I'm not trying to demonise anyone that wants to make money. I don't think that commerce is a bad thing in itself. But when you're trying to make, a buck off of people's situation at their expense, at the cost of their health, I don't think that's a great thing, personally. A lot of them have got bad oils and sugar and refined carbohydrates in them, and they're supposed to be for the weight loss industry. So we'll have to have a chat about that one at the end. And also probiotic drinks. This is going to be a bit of a shocker. There isn't actually any studies which prove that these things make one dot of difference to you. There's no proof that they actually survive the journey down to the gut. They looked at the scientific literature, and they were actually, the evidence was very patchy in relation to the gut and the unreliable in terms of improving general well-being or helping with allergies. I could be here all day talking about these sorts of things, but they're marketing ploys. I know. So if you look at the ingredient of the industry's most popular probiotic drink, you'll see that it contains quite a lot of sugar. The problem with sugar in a probiotic drink is that the sugar feeds the pathogens, and the pathogens in your gut fight for space with the friendly bacteria. So why would you feed the pathogens the sugar while you're trying to put good guys back in your gut? Why would you do that? That's counterproductive. Skimmed milk powder. I will come to that, but there's nothing healthful about skimmed milk powder. There's nothing healthful about skimmed milk, but there's nothing healthful about skimmed milk powder. And all sorts of processes, homogenization and UHT, just to extend the shelf life, flavourings, dextrose, which is a kind of sugar, anything with the word ose at the end, like lactose, maltose, fructose. They're all kinds of sugars. So if you see anything with the word ose at the end, then you know it's some kind of sugar, some kind of complex, carbohydrate. And and this functional food thing that's going on in the food industry. Functional food. Who wants a functional food? I just want a functional body, I don't think that they're really doing the job that they say they're going to be doing. A lot of them are actually causing the very conditions that they claim to be alleviating. Especially the cholesterol lowering products, like shouldn't be saying, you know the ones I mean, beginning with a B, yes? And really, you know, plant sterols you can get from eating any plant. So why would you want to pick up a you know, refined, inferior excuse for food?
Because it's on the shelf.
Because it's on the shelf, that's right. But I see people buying mountains of them in the supermarket.
So when they measure your cholesterol, for example,
Yeah.
and say, oh, 6.5 and above, oh
Yeah.
no, your cholesterol's high.
Mm.
So what should it be?
Well,
Or are we checking?
Dr. Malcolm Kendrick says that 7's healthy.
Okay. So 7's healthy.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get it down to 4.5.
Well, they get £65 every time they give you a statin, so, you know, that's a different conversation. Yeah, they get an incentive. They get a financial incentive for every time they can prove that you need a statin. That's very controversial, but, it, you know, yeah. It's pretty shocking.
Sorry, what did you say there, Charlotte? What was healthy? I missed that word.
What's healthy?
You said the word, something was healthy.
7. I didn't say that. Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. For cholesterol count. Yes.
What about diabetes? I noticed about diabetes because apparently the scales skew
For sugar, what would it be?
Like I said, I'll stand with that. Cholesterol is a red herring. We need to be looking at the inflammatory markers and the triglycerides. You know, diabetes is an inflammatory autoimmune problem. You deal with that and then everything else will sort itself out. You know, you deal with the gut, you deal with the root cause of what diabetes is, which is to do with low vitamin D, poor gut health and inflammation, you know, poor blood sugar management. You deal with all of those elements and you should not have to worry about your cholesterol. That is the last of your worries, you know. Most diabetics are found in studies to be low in vitamin D and have really, really poor gut microbiomes, like gut dysbiosis. Almost every one of them.
And also, some of the research shows that from diabetes then you go on to the heart problems.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Well, you know, if you've got inflammation running around in your body, it's going to eventually go for your heart, isn't it? Absolutely, it is. Absolutely.
How much triglycerides do you need to have in your body?
How much?
What is the level of the triglycerides?
Of
Like
triglycerides?
Sorry,
There are markers, there are different markers, yeah.
like what is the level that you're not allowed to? What is a safe level?
You want to get them as low as possible. You want to get them as low as possible. I don't know what the current scientific, yeah. But we can always discuss it at the end. So bread. Let's go back quickly to bread. They're using fast-acting industrial yeasts, flour improvers, added sugar, these vegetable oils and soya flour. They're making them fast, super quick. Yeah? And that's not natural. We should be naturally fermenting them, long, slow processes to make them digestible. And that's what's wreaking havoc with our guts. That's why a lot of us have got gut dysbiosis. Yep.
Charlotte, can I just mention as well?
Yep.
The way the wheat is grown
Yep, absolutely.
it's crazy now.
Yep.
Because they use too many chemicals, so you've already got a product there.
That's right.
It's toxic.
That's right, it's
And
true.
then you refine it further.
That's right, it's true. They absolutely smother wheat grain in pesticides. Absolutely smother it, and then more and more pesticides to dry it when they're harvesting it, and it's incredibly toxic anyway. And the wheat gluten can cause serious inflammatory problems. It can attack your joints, and cause leaky gut as well. Cause like little spike proteins will get the tight junctions in the gut to open up, and that allows all your nutrients to flow out, toxins to come in. It's not good. You can end up with auto-intoxication on the blood. And, adding soya flour is not great because it's also got lots of toxins in it. You should really be fermenting soya to get the superfood out of it. Just as a flour, they use it as a bulking agent in order to bulk things out, to make them cheap and accessible. And, soya is not great if you've got thyroid issues in your family, like hereditary thyroid issues. You absolutely must avoid non-fermented soya. Fermented soya is a different story. It can cause problems with the digestive system. If you're a man, it can mess with your hormones. It's irritating to the gut, and the oxalates can cause kidney stones. So it's horrible stuff, soy, and I wouldn't, unless it's fermented into things like miso and soya, then yeah, it's not great. So that's it's one for you to watch out for when you're looking at ingredients lists. So, like I said before, when you sprout your grain, you're activating the grain and releasing all of its enzymes and abundance of vitamins and minerals. And the fermentation process neutralises a lot of those anti-nutrients that are in it. It's not 100% in terms of the lectins as well. Lectins are little spikes that go in and attack the gut. But fermenting things like dairy and vegetables activates nutrients and antioxidants really well. And these are the kind of microbes that are going right down into the digestive system, and they're much more bioavailable. When you ferment cabbage, it increases its vitamin C count by up to 20 times. So, the history behind sauerkraut is that they were giving it to sailors that are off. You know how sailors used to get scurvy? Well, obviously you couldn't take fresh food onto the ship and take it out there for weeks and months and then it would go mouldy. But sauerkraut, you could take out and it would last. And you're getting all that vitamin C and all those probiotics. It's a really nutritious food. It's actually considered to be an anti-ager.
So what is a good book
There's one by Sandor Katz. I've got a really great fermentation book. So I can always email it to you. Yeah, don't worry. Sandor Katz has written a book called The Art of Fermentation. It's a great book. So we're going to talk about the digestive system just a little bit. I want to try and get everything covered quickly. So the digestive system, is it working for you? And it is really the foundation of good health. So a really good gut is evacuating every day, about twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And it doesn't feel bloated after food. And you can extract your nutrients from your food optimally. And then you get energy from that, right? If your gut is a bit slow, then you know that things are a bit out of balance. You know that your funny bacteria is perhaps compromised. The pathogens are winning the fight. 85% of your immune system resides in the gut wall. So it's really important to look after your gut. It's kind of key. If you want energy, you want weight loss, you want to avoid diabetes, you want to protect your heart, you want to support your immune system. Pretty much everything, you start with the gut. And it's really critical. Abnormal gut flora can lead to all kinds of problems. And you'd be surprised how many people have got them. And that can manifest in all sorts of problems. You can end up with like eczema, end up with allergies, food allergies, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, all related to gut problems. Acne, yep. So, fermented vegetables, unless you've got SIBO, fermented vegetables go a long way into supporting that microbiome. But you also want to feed them good things. So you want to feed them things like seaweeds and, prebiotics, things like sweet potatoes, leaks, that sort of thing. Black garlic. Yep, I'm going to talk about black garlic in a minute. Kefir. Kefir is a fermented drink. Yep.
Prebiotic fibre.
What, like inulin?
Huh?
Inulin, like chicory.
Yeah, something like
Chicory, yeah. Yep, great. Yeah. Chicory, inulin, yeah. Yeah, so what, when you're thinking about prebiotics and probiotics and when you're having things like kefir and kombucha, they are creating the perfect environment for your gut microbiome to flourish because they're transient, but they're there to create the right environment, and you want to build that environment favourably for yourself. I'm a fan of fermented foods. I'm also a fan of aloe vera. In fact, aloe vera is very cooling for anyone that's got an inflamed gut. A lot of people have got inflamed guts these days, probably because of the way that our diet is very inflammatory. Unfortunately, most commercial yogurts are pretty useless in terms of giving you the probiotics that you need. They don't really survive necessarily the journey down. And yogurts these days, we've evolved beyond what they've got to offer. Kefir has got significantly more probiotics in it than yogurts have got. And if you've got good microbes in the gut, then it's doing, it's producing fatty acids that we need. I'm a big fan of sea vegetables. I really love sea vegetables. That's seaweed, basically. Just to answer your quizzical look. Sea vegetables have got all the microminerals that are missing in land vegetables. You can't get them anywhere else. And they've also got iodine in them, but those microminerals support the iodine to go to your thyroid, and they help with weight loss and metabolism. But they're also a prebiotic, so they feed your friendly bacteria. They're absolutely fantastic. And they cleanse heavy metals out of the body. They're natural chelators. Yeah.
Is that also with the metals that you
That's right.
accumulate in the body?
Yep.
Is it bad for Alzheimer's?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Brown racks are the most nutritious. They're the most nutrient dense. Brown racks. I'm not talking about the Japanese ones. These are the ones that are from our shores, Scotland, Norway, Iceland. Kelp is okay, but kelp is grown all over the place. It's a very common seaweed, and it can come from anywhere really. So you never really quite know how clean it is because it's just so common. But I mean, I do have some kelp in my shop up the road, but I've got sea greens, and sea greens is all the brown racks. And they're the best ones going, basically. And they do the job. They're really, really good.
So what do you mean by brown rats?
They're just a species of seaweed. So you've got whistle rack, spiral rack, and channel rack. Yeah.
Where do you get them from?
My shop. I've got some leaflets on it. Don't worry.
1 hour.
Thank you, darling. All right, I'm going to speed it up a little bit because I've done an hour now.
But you started late.
I did start late. No, even though I started late.
We're going for 1 hour. I can see the report.
Are we all good to go on, even though I've over? Okay, thank you very much. Very generous of you. So some typical fermented foods. Kefir, kombucha. I brought some kombucha with me actually, so if anyone wants to try some, you're very welcome. I've got kombucha with me. I don't. That's a different conversation. Yeah. That's in that book, Sandra Katz.
Okay.
Yep. Sauerkraut, miso, kimchi, sourdough bread, idlis and dosas, they're all fermented foods. There are loads more, by the way. These are just a few. You can really investigate. Yeah. You want to get them into your diet. Kefir is significantly richer in probiotic bacteria, 10 to 20 different types of probiotic bacteria, more than yogurt. It was originated in the Caucasus Mountains about 5,000 years ago. Goat herders were we're using it. So it was originally made out of goat. Personally, I prefer goat kefir. I think it's much more authentic and it works for me better. Yeah, definitely. It's easy to digest. It's not got such a damp quality to it. It's better for us. Kombucha is a naturally fermented tea drink with a living colony of bacteria and yeast. It's a natural anti-inflammatory. Has anyone here tried or heard of apple cider vinegar? No, of course. Yeah, so this has got very similar properties to apple cider vinegar. It's got these similar acids to it, which help with inflammation. It's really good for things like joint aches and arthritis. It's very good for the liver as well, detoxing the liver.
So many people now are being diagnosed with osteoarthritis.
Yeah, I know, osteopenia, osteoarthritis. So many people, you're absolutely right. It's down to our diet, unfortunately. The problem with a lot of commercial kombuchas is that they're adding carbonation to them, so you're not getting the true... That fizz comes out of the natural fermentation process. You have to ferment it properly between 4 to 8 weeks. And yes, that long. This is premium kombucha. Premium. So this is properly fermented with adaptogenic herbs so that you benefit from the probiotics and from the herbs. And you have true probiotics in it. But a lot of commercial kombuchas, unfortunately, have just got carbonation added into them because it's quicker for them to produce it. So it's more closer to a fizzy pop than it really is to a kombucha. So, you've got to be really discerning about your kombuchas. And there are only a couple in the whole country, actually, that are truly fermented.
So I know some people make it at home.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
So would that have the same
Totally.
benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. Make your own. If you can make your own, make your own. It's like having a full-time baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlotte, how much of the kombucha do you recommend one has per day?
One of those little cups to start off with and then build it up. Yeah, a day. Yeah, in the morning. Because it gives you a bit of energy. It gives you a bit of boost. And it
Build it up to what?
half a cup a day.
Half a cup a day and then you build it up to
Well,
how much?
you don't want to be drinking too much. That will make you go. It's really rich in probiotics. That's a sign of a really good kombucha, by the way, guys. If you drink a kombucha and you don't go to the toilet, you know it's been carbonated. Yeah? A good kombucha will have you go, ooh, ring the bell, Sauerkraut is a superfood. It is a superfood. It's been around for centuries. It's one of the ancient foods in our indigenous cultures. Everybody's got it. The Koreans and Japanese have got kimchi. Sauerkraut, from Poland. The Eastern Europeans love it. Cabbage is really good for you anyway. It's one of the cruciferous vegetables. It's good for inflammatory bowel problems, constipation, food allergies, even, immune problems. Cabbage is good for you. Fermented cabbage is 10 times better for you. If you
Charlotte, sorry, can you buy sauerkraut which is not pasteurized?
You can, yes. Now, sometimes they pasteurize. It's a really good point. Thank you for pointing it out. They do pasteurize sometimes. If you go into a Polish supermarket or sometimes you've got to make sure that it says it's raw. There are a few companies that do raw sauerkraut. If anybody goes to the farmers market in Stroud Green Road on a Sunday, there's a woman down there called Pop and Pickles. She's doing the best sauerkraut. Amazing. Yeah. Sauerkraut on Stroud Green Road. There's a farmers market on the Sunday. There's a woman called Pop and Pickles. She is Oriental. Don't know exactly. I think she's Korean or Chinese, and she's making the best sauerkraut around. Really good stuff. No, it's just down the road. It's on the way to Finchley Park. Yeah. Desiree took me there.
Well, it's opposite the station is Ennis Road. From Ennis Road is one of the two roads that lead to that from Stroud Green Road. It's in a school. It's in a school space.
Which station?
It's opposite the entrance of a known pub of the area, which is a fullback.
It's Finsbury Park.
Right opposite the
Finsbury Park
fullback.
station,
What
Yeah.
day?
Sunday until June.
Yeah.
And
a lot of these things that I'm touching on are worthy of a whole talk in themselves, and microwaves in particular, like EMF radiation, Wi-Fi and microwaves, they're worth a whole talk. And I do know experts that I could, if you were interested in something like that, be really happy to bring an expert in to talk about that. But microwaving your food is not great, and it really does compromise your immune system. I know that there has been a rise in cancers in babies, and a lot of women are microwaving their baby milk. Yeah. In the bottles because it's quick and easy. It is quick and easy, but this is in the Lancet. This is a British Medical Journal report. And they are actually trying to suppress a lot of the information about EMF radiation and about microwaves, but it's coming out in the Lancet, and there's now quite a lot of studies about EMF radiation in particular, and then it causes cancer. And we do have a rise in cancer, it's a fact. It is a problem. So yeah, living on microwave food, you see a lot of elderly people doing it. They're just living on ready-made meals full of rapeseed oil and sugar and refined carbohydrates, and they're on statin-lowering, cholesterol-lowering statins, calcium tablets, and processed bread, lots of dehydrating tea, and biscuits and cakes, and that's their life. So this is another myth I want to talk about salt. Who here thinks that salt is bad for them? There you go. Okay, right. So
you
real.
can die if you overdose.
There's a difference between the one on the left and the one on the right. There's a big difference. Okay. The one on the right is chemically treated. It's processed and bleached. It's had all its minerals stripped away. I don't know why they bother, to be honest. But this stuff here, it's grey. It's got all its minerals, all the electrolytes. Has over 60 trace minerals.
What about Himalayan salt?
Himalayan salt is all right, but it doesn't have as much magnesium as sea salt. Sea salt has a very similar profile to the water that is in the womb when you were in embryonic state, when you're developing as a embryo. And it's extraordinary. We need it because it balances the water inside and outside the cell. It's important for relaxing the heart muscle. There's absolutely no data that associates salt, good quality salt, with hypertension, heart problems.
I was told that when you go to the hospital, they put you on a drink, which is saline, which is salt.
Well, there you go then. Yeah.
The first thing that they do is to banish you out, and they're just like,
That's right.
the nurses said, salt is actually good.
It is.
Salt, that is.
It's the bad salt that's bad. And that's bad for lots of different reasons. But it's not because intrinsically it's salt, it's because of what they've done to it. Which goes back to what I said at the beginning about food being within, all about context, the context of food. Food, if all food, I know it's not practical, but if all food was in its natural form and was unadulterated, we wouldn't be having half the problems we're having today, really. This is just natural salt from Brittany. I got that in 2K Max for $2.99. It was a kilo. It's a kilo of it. A while ago. But you can buy, in the comb section. You can buy grey sea salt in any health food store. Yeah, it's got to be grey with all the minerals in it. You don't want it cleaned and cleansed and bleached and washed.
And it's better than Himalayan.
I think it is. I prefer sea salt. It's not, I resonate really well with it. I've got some Himalayan at home as well. Just use everything. Variety is the spice of life, Why don't you just use whatever you can get your hands on if it's good quality? But the sea salt has more magnesium in it, so it's better for your heart muscle. And it's got all the electrolytes in it, which, Himalayan doesn't. Exactly. So sea salt maintains electrolyte balance with sodium, potassium, and these electrolytes work together. It's rich in calcium, magnesium, and that helps with hypertension. So it's madness that we're all being frightened off of salt. It's relaxing the heart muscle. Yeah? I'm not saying have mountains of salt, but have liberal salt in your diet because you actually need it. And it's, it does help to relax the smooth muscles of the blood vessels. Really important.
And without salt we would actually die.
That's right. Very well said. Without salt, we would actually die. Moving swiftly on. Sugar. Sugar is really acidic. And your body has a brilliant buffer mechanism. And your body will never work against you. It will do everything in its power to work with you, but you've got to give it the right tools. And if you're eating very, very acidic foods, it will, in its desperation to rebalance the pH, the alkaline, acid alkaline in the body, it will draw minerals off the bones to rebalance. So sugar is very, very acidic. And it suppresses your immune system for up to 5 hours. It feeds the pathogens in your gut. And it poisons our mitochondria, which is, again, as I said, the powerhouse, what gives us energy. So sugar might give you a little bit of a boost, but ultimately it's robbing you of energy. And it's also, ladies, attaching itself to the collagen in your skin. And the damage that it does is irreversible. It is, you know, to use the word poison is, you know, I don't think that's too strong. I really don't.
Does the same apply to fructose?
We're going to go on to fructose. Sugar is partially fructose and partially sucrose. Sucrose is metabolized by your pancreas and fructose is metabolized by your liver. So it poisons both of those organs, yeah? And it's 8 times more addictive than cocaine, according to a study they did with rats. A load of cocaine taking rats. So cocaine and heroin activate only one spot of pleasure in the brain, but sugar lights up the brain like a pinball machine, according to some study they did on it. It is addictive, but you know. So what I want to know is, can you really diet with a diet soda? You can die with a diet soda maybe, but you can't diet with it because it's a carbohydrate, you see. It's a carbohydrate regardless of what it's got in it, whether it's sugar, pro-sugar or sugar-free, artificial sugars, which still stimulate the sweet receptors in the body. So you can still get diabetes from artificial sweeteners, and you know they are associated with cancers like bladder cancer and brain cancer. You know, you're not going to be able to diet with Diet Coke or diet, you know, sodas. And also, if there's synthetic caffeine in it, you are causing massive drain on your adrenals. And phosphoric acid, which is a rust remover and a preservative, that's also causing acidity in the body, which again is drawing the carbonation and that drawing the minerals off the bones again. So this is probably why we've got a lot of bone problems, because there's a lot of those kinds of drinks out in the arena, isn't there?
What about mineral water? Fizzy mineral water?
Mineral water's all right, yeah. Fizzy, don't overdo the fizzy. In moderation. I know it's nice, isn't it? I know. Just have it occasionally. It's fine. So aspartame is a toxic chemical sweetener. And, you know, again, we're going back to that thing at the beginning where I was talking about calories, low calories, high calories. Who cares? You know, you want to be looking at the carbohydrate count and you want to be looking at what kind of artificial sweeteners and damaged toxic ingredients are in your food. Don't worry. I think that calories are your last of your concerns, you know. Last of concerns on your list. And there's huge amounts of health problems that we're dealing with now that are all rising out of this liberal use of artificial sweeteners. There's nothing healthy about these. I mean, artificial is in the word, you know, it's in the word, isn't it? In the name, artificial. They are artificial. They're not natural. They're not food. And we're not designed to be eating things like that. If you want some sugar, have some sugar, but don't have aspartame or saccharin or anything like that. So, we're on to the fructose. Oh no, not fruit juice as well. Fruit juice, I'm afraid, free-form fruit juice. Fruit juice fruit is fibre and fructose. And fibre is nature's natural antidote. And it's designed to mop up the fructose as you're eating it, okay? But when it's free-form fructose like that, it's concentrated mountains of fruit juice. It's not what our ancestors would have got hold of when they're hunting and gathering and getting a few apples off the tree. You know, they're not having in gallons of fructose. Fructose goes directly to your liver and it causes a non-alcoholic fatty liver. And it's very, very lipogenic. So you can put on weight quite easily with fructose. And I had a gentleman tell me that he had been trying to diet and lose weight, and his doctor told him to just eat fruit. And he was making up, you know, tropical fruit and berry fruit smoothies in the mornings and drinking it all. And he came to my talk and he said a light bulb went on in his head. And he went home and he just cut out all the fruit and started eating real food. And he showed me his belt, like he'd gone down about 6 notches on his belt from it.
So food, would you limit yourself to one piece a day?
There are fruits that are high GI and low GI. Berries are really great. They're anti-inflammatory. They're rich in antioxidants and polyphenols. You know, they're really great for you. Yeah, they're great. Eating them whole, but not loads and loads of fruit juice. There's a difference.
But as a whole, if you have a fruit salad, you know, cut out fruit, then it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
when you get the juice out. Yeah.
That's right. Now, what you know? So you were saying, okay, well, salt doesn't cause probably less than 1% of people in this country are salt sensitive. Okay. But then aside, if you look at what the real causation factor is in high blood pressure, hypertension, it's actually fructose. Fructose.
So what are you saying? We shouldn't drink juices?
I wouldn't say shouldn't around fruit juice. I'd say just be really mindful of the fact that what you're drinking there is pure fructose. Just be mindful of it.
You mean the bought fruit juice?
Yes.
Oh, okay, not the juice that you would do at home.
If you're doing a juice at home, depends what you're doing. Yeah. Well, you know, a mango's really, really high GI. Berries are really low GI. So, you know, if you want to, and if there's bits in it, maybe that would be better. It all depends on the person, though. It all depends on the person. And yeah, if you're the kind of person that's getting something from it and you feel good from it, and you're not messing with your blood sugar levels and your blood pressure is fine. Like I'm a low blood pressure type, so you know, I can probably handle a little bit of fructose. But it's not ideal for everybody.
Excuse me, Charlotte. I've got to go, but
I understand.
can I just say on my from my side, it's been excellent. What
Oh,
you've been doing.
thank
I'm going
you.
to take this all on board. I've got a sheaf of notes,
Brilliant.
densely written, and
Lovely.
I'm going to start putting it into practice.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
very much.
Take care. Bye bye. Oh, we've got a late comer. Hi Tom. I'm halfway through. There's a seat just there. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Where was I? Okay.
1 hour 20 minutes.
1 hour and 20 minutes. I better move on to, yeah, okay. All right, so you can choose some natural sweeteners within moderation, but it's important that you're not feeding that kind of attachment, that addiction that you've got to sweet things, you know? But if you need it, then you can go for things like Yacon, which is, you know, low in fructose. There's a company called Conscious Foods that do a Palmyra jaggery that's very low in fructose. And raw honey has got fructose in it, but at least it's got minerals in it. Same with coconut palm sugar. Maple date rice syrup in moderation, still got a little bit of fructose, but you know, use it in conjunction with other things that have got fibre in it, which helps to manage that a little bit. And for people who are lactose intolerant, dairy is very inflammatory for a lot of people. But they find that a lot of them can tolerate either raw milk or fermented milk. And a lot of them, they find that things like kefir and raw milk actually heal and cure and reverse their food intolerances and their dairy intolerances. So if you know, I'm not here to advocate any particular kind of a diet, by the way. I'm not here to tell you to be vegan or veggie or paleo or keto. It's a personal choice. Or what? Fruitarian? A breatharian, that's right, yes. Yeah, you have my admiration if you're a breatharian. I've heard they exist. So, you know, again, going back to food, it's all about context. You know, if you're going to be eating animal produce, which is fantastic, it's up to you, you've got to make sure that it's coming from a good place and it's grass-fed, it's free range or it's organic, as much as you can afford. You know, I get it that the budget is a problem, it's an issue, but we don't need to be eating mountains of it every day. You know, we can just get a really good quality bit of meat, have that every now and again. You know, buy your meat from local farmers markets as well. That's a good place, or a local butcher's. Because often the supermarket is endorsing and investing in factory farming methods that are full of antibiotics and hormones, and you know the animals are being fed grains, and that makes them inflamed like us, because we weren't you know, we're not very how can I say, compatible with eating lots of grains. But animals also were not designed to be eating grains. They're supposed to be out in the field eating grass, so they're being given these grains and they're inflamed. And yeah, so that hence why they need all these antibiotics to counter it. And so yeah, therefore you're eating a diseased animal, you know. So it's important to get good quality meat, and maybe just have a little bit less if it's too expensive, you know. That's my suggestion. Go with what works for you though. Skimmed and semi-skimmed milk, it's sugar, you know. It's you've taken the fat out of it. Thanks, Viv. Take care. I'm driving you all out slowly, one by one. There'll be one person left in the room. My greatest fear. No. So yeah, when you take the fat out of dairy, what do you have left? Do you know?
Sugar.
Yeah, you've got lactose. A little bit of protein and lactose. So when you're drinking, you know, skimmed and semi-skimmed milks, you've taken away the fat, which is the only really valuable bit in it once they've pasteurised it anyway. And you know, that's there to help us absorb our fat-soluble vitamins. So you know, if you're going to be, you know, a whole food diet for me is full fat, blah blah. Yeah, it's the whole.
So, sorry, what's the difference then with raw milk and A2 milk? Is it the same?
No, they're not allowed to sell raw milk in the supermarkets.
No,
yeah, you have to go to a farmer's market for that.
No,
Yeah,
that's
I'm not advocating raw milk. I'm just saying it's you know, it's an option for getting better quality if you want to drink.
So is that A2 milk?
A2, no, that's something different.
I can tell you the Ali Farmers Market, there is one guy that sells raw milk. I
Yes.
buy every day.
There you go. He's your man to go to.
Because by law,
They can't.
only the producer can sell it. A third party cannot resell
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no.
Only the producer can sell it.
Okay.
So the cow should be selling it, yes?
The cow. You got it in one. Okay, so bone broths are very, very good for healing a leaky gut. They're very good for collagen in your skin. They're good for healing bone joint problems. You've got arthritis, things like that. They're fantastic for colloids and sulfates and glucosamine and other compounds. And they're really great for cartilage, rich in calcium, magnesium, other nutrients. Important for bone formation.
Well, it's great, basically.
It's basically great. I recommend it. It's really good. It's cheap. You can get carcasses from the butchers for next to nothing, and it's pretty delicious. You can, and it, you know.
Again, at a farmer's market, though.
Yeah.
It's not in a butcher's, ordinary butcher's.
Go to a good quality butcher's, and they'll often give you bones for free, unless there's one around the corner that want to charge you £4 for a bone. There are good quality butchers around.
Maybe when the meat is organic.
Yes, or free range if it's a chicken. Yeah. I mean, they don't, you know, obviously chickens don't have to eat grass. They can eat worms and grubs and things. Certain things are more important to be organic than others, and these are the ones that I think are important. Carrots and lettuces are number one on the list because they spray them. They spray them heavily. Carrots are combating the carrot fly, and every time they spray the carrot fly comes back bigger and stronger. So they're trying to combat the carrot fly, but you know, all they're doing is carrying. The problem with the carrots is if you peel the skin off, all the beta carotene is just under the surface of the skin, and you want that beta carotene. You want to be eating carrots with the skin on, really. So there's no point in buying a carrot that's not organic, really, because you've got to skin it. It's actually a government health warning on it, eating carrots with skins on that are not organic. Lettuces are really highly sprayed. They're sprayed up to 26 times with an agro-pesticide called lindane. Lindane's been associated with breast cancer. And there's areas, big farming areas, where communities are living around those fields where they're spraying, there's a high incidence of breast cancer. And obviously for all the other reasons, anything that's in the ground, you know, soaking up the pesticides, not great. Eggs are just higher in essential fatty acids if you get them organic, but at least free range. And as I said, grass-fed meat and free range is best. Wholemeal bread. Yeah, if you have bread, then make it organic, or make it at least.
Well, the flour that you buy is not from the grains.
It does, yeah, it does.
And now they're putting all this folic acid in.
I know. It's really unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a minefield.
medicalising us without even us
They
knowing
are.
vitamin
So
D,
true.
folic acid.
They're putting a lot of bromides actually in bread.
Bromide?
Now they have been in the past, which affects the thyroid.
Yeah.
That's why we've got so many endocrine problems.
My daughter,
Yeah.
she loves bread.
Okay, so good fats in the diet. We need fat. We do need fat. I think I've established that. And, you know, what is a healthy diet? These are my top healthy foods. There are others, but these are what I call superfoods. And they're important because they feed your mitochondria, they support your gut health, they're really rich, really nutrient dense. Yep.
Read out the list.
Sauerkraut and cabbage. Dark green leafy vegetables and cruciferous vegetables. Dark green leafy vegetables and cruciferous vegetables.
What are cruciferous?
Broccoli, yeah, cauliflower. Seaweeds, sea vegetables. Olive oil should be green, rich with chlorophyll. It should be like slightly peppery and taste like grass. And if it doesn't, then it's not true olive oil.
Olive oil.
Yeah, it's got to be good quality olive oil to get the benefits from it, the vitamin E and the chlorophyll. Sorry? If you heat it up, you destroy its vitamin E, its chlorophyll, its essential fatty acids.
Does it not go toxic?
It does, yeah. It's partly saturated.
Frying olive oil.
No,
Is that
that's
not good?
toxic. No, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
It's just a byproduct of the industry. It's
Because it's
just.
not seed oil.
Yeah, well, no, it's not. But
It's
it's
rubbish.
it's still rubbish. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Olive oil
Um,
cooking.
Broccoli sprouts are rich in sulfurines. They're anti-cancerous. They're amazing. Broccoli sprouts are really good. They're anti-inflammatory. Yeah, beetroots, nitric oxide. Really great. Black seed oil, they say in a lot of Arabic countries that black seed oil cures everything except death. It's more powerful than oregano oil in its antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral properties. It's amazing stuff. It's extraordinary, really. I take black seed oil, I love it. I think it's really great.
What you take it?
Yeah.
Tablets?
No, I've got it as a bottle. I pour it into, you know, you can put it into a kefir or something. Yeah, it's quite nice. Cod liver oil and cod livers and the oil. Cod livers and the oil. Very rich in nucleotides and vitamin A and vitamin D, essential fatty acids. Really great. Eyesight, immune health, gut health. Brilliant for everything.
Black garlic. Where do you get that?
Fermented black garlic. You can get it everywhere, actually. And I'm going to talk about it, actually. There you go. Okay, so black garlic originated apparently, allegedly in Korea. And they've been using it broadly across Asia, sort of Japan and Thailand as well. And they have, they call it the garlic of longevity, the food of longevity. And yeah, that basically through the process of fermentation, they've been able to neutralise the allicin in it and turn it into antioxidants in the form of alkaloids and flavonoids. And these are really, really good for blood pressure and circulation, protecting the heart and the immune system. And they're prebiotics, so they feed the gut bacteria as well. So they're superfoods in my world. You can get them really easily all over the place.
Can you grow them?
You can't grow them like that. You have, it's a process. It's a special process. Yeah. You can get them in the Healan and the Fridge of Plenty. Yeah, they're delicious. They're sweet and sticky. Yeah. On Crouch Hill. Yeah, I'm sure you can get them in Sainsbury's. I'm sure you can get them everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, organic, so it comes in a white box.
It's on the list. We're getting to that. Yeah. I thought it was on my superfoods list actually. Wild salmon should be on that list. Wild salmon is on the list, definitely on the list, and cod liver oil as well. Okay, so just a summary. Polyunsaturated fatty acids to avoid and never heat. Vegetable oils, refined olive oil, rapeseed oil, cottonseed oil, linseed oil, sunflower, any seed oils, soya bean oil. Soya bean oil actually is, again, toxic for your mitochondria. It is a toxin. It is horrible. It's in loads of things.
So you mentioned soybean oil. What about soybean?
I just mentioned the soya bean. Soya is toxic, yeah. Yeah, you've got to ferment it properly. Things like miso is really healthful. But fermentation transforms and it neutralises all the anti-nutrients in it, all the poisons and the toxins. Sorry? Avocado oil. It's a monounsaturated. So it's not a poly, but it's not a saturated. It's not fully stable. It's not 100% stable. But avocados are really great. Use it in your salad. Yeah, it's great. Most nut oils are omega-6s. Most nuts are omega-6, and we shouldn't be eating roasted nuts. Anything that's heated of an omega-6 is inflammatory. So,
Not even roasted nuts and things like that, not to
I think, yeah. Especially things like almonds, which are an omega-6.
So you mustn't roast them.
No. You can get roasted nut milks as well. They're not great either. And they've got added calcium to them. Yeah.
So, Charlotte, I was watching a program regarding oils
Yes.
and how they get toxic under temperature.
Yes.
One of the oils that came out really well was grapeseed oil.
Grapeseed oil.
What is your view on that?
I'd have to look into that one.
It's like flaxseed.
Yeah.
Is it?
Smell, no taste. So that you
I think it's a mixture. Grapeseed. If it's got any polyunsaturates in it, then it's not good. I'd have to look it up. So many things to know, isn't there? Okay, I'm coming to the end, believe it or not. So, just a few more quotes. The food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. And the only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. And this is a famous Ayurvedic proverb, which none of us have heard of. When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. And when diet is correct, medicine is of no need. Does that make sense? Because you've got to get to the root of the problem and then cure it with a good diet, right? And then you shouldn't need the medicine. I mean, medicine has its place, okay? Medicine's got its place in every circumstance. But, a lot of inflammatory problems, gut problems, long-term things.
Are you talking about pharmaceutical medicine?
Yeah.
Really? It's all got side effects.
It has all got side effects, I agree. But I'll talk to you about that, definitely. Obviously, that was just a brief overview. That was a brief overview, and obviously I could go deeper into every subject. I'm really happy to come and give more talks, if you think I did all right. And
Can you give us talks on maybe some of these?
I brought a mailing list with me, so anyone wants to go on the mailing list and then just tell me what your preference is, and I'd love to give another talk to you all, and then maybe I'll be on time this time as well, and it won't overrun.
How do we get the slides?
You put your email down on my mailing list and I'll send you the slides for sure. If there's any kind of talks that you're interested in, even if I can't do them, I know an expert that can. So I can bring anyone you like in, really, pretty much. Yeah.
Where's your
Yeah.
shop? You said your shop is just up the road.
Okay, so my shop's just around the corner on Broadway Parade.
So Charlotte, any chance we can take people with us today to the shop if they want to buy something?
It's not practical right now, but I will direct people down, yeah. It's called Soul Body Beautiful. It's 11A Broadway Parade in Crouch End. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be there for, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, once we're going to take all their details and
Yeah.
add them onto the mailing list.
Okay, great.
Mention that obviously It's the first in a series of 4 talks that you're going to do.
Yep, okay. All right, okay. So this is the first series of a few talks I'm going to do. I'd like to do 4 talks in total. And I'm going to pass around, and I'm also going to bring around some kombucha as well. If anyone would like to try some kombucha, I'll bring around a little sample to you, okay? And please put down on the mailing list what your interest is, and we'll try to deliver. I'd quite like to do one. I do one on stress and energy. If anyone's interested in stress and energy, yeah, that's one I've given quite recently, so I'm quite versed on that one. Yeah, everyone's dealing with stress and energy issues, right? So, yeah, I'm really happy to deliver that one in the next few weeks.
Are you going to be able to send us the slides?
I can send you the slides. Just give me your email and I'll do it for sure. Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you very much. Right. I have to have a whole salad.